Hi to my fellow readers. So this is my first book tag I've decided to do for the year. I already filmed it once, but I felt like it was too long, and I felt like I could do better with it. So here is the New Year's resolution book tag, and when I will find the. By the way, I will find the original book creator, and I will post the original creator, but I don't know it off the top of my head. So first question. An author you'd like to read that you've never read before. And an author I would like to read that I've never read before is Neil Gaiman. People talk about Neil Gaiman a lot. I think there's a lot of mixed opinions on him and his writing. I remember this one became a TV show a few years ago on, I can't remember, AMC or HBO or something. I think it's HBO. Unfortunately, we only get HBO. My parents pay for the cable bill because I live with them, so we only get HBO to when Game of Thrones starts. So I can't watch this show. I can't watch the actual TV show, but I did buy the book. I bought this book from when I was in Virginia visiting my sister. We got it at BJ's, so it was a pretty decent price. So, I did start reading a little bit because I am the type of person who will, I get excited and I have to buy a book, and then, I am eager to read it, and then I'll start it, but then I'll get, there'll be other things that will distract me. So, I have to continue this one. And then I want to read more of his books. There's Light at the End of the Lane, I think is another one, and Coraline I want to read. I really liked the movie Coraline, so I want to read the book. So there's a lot of Neil Gaiman I want to read. It's an author that he's an author that I really want to explore. Okay, so question number 2, a book you'd like to read. So, I think this could basically be a lot of books. So I decided to pick this one, Crooked Kingdom. I already read Six of Crows last year, and I decided because I didn't want to read the second book right away, so I took a break from it, and I got distracted by other books, so I never got around to reading Crooked Kingdom. So I want to read this one this year. So I don't know if I will read it this month or next month. But I'm hoping to read it soon. Oh, and this is awesome. I love these. Don't you guys just love these pages? These red pages. This is so cool. And this cover is awesome. I love this cover. Let's see. Nope, there's nothing in here except for, well, there's a little bit of an image of a crow on the cover, on the naked cover. But isn't this awesome? Okay, so sorry, I messed it up. I want to read this one. Let's see. Okay, so there's that one. Okay, so next question. Okay, so question number 3. A classic you like to read. I picked 3 classics. One that's an actual classic, and then 2 modern classics. Okay, so the first one, the actual classic one, is North and South by Elizabeth Gaskell. This is a book that's kind of compared to Pride and Prejudice. It's about this woman, Margaret Hale. Her father is a priest, and when the church starts to change, he doesn't agree with the change, and neither does the other priest. So he uproots Margaret and her mother to the city of Milton. And of course, neither one of them are happy about that. Margaret really loves Helston, doesn't want to leave it, and constantly comparing Helston and Milton and how foggy it is and how it's such an overwhelming place because of the city and everything. And there she meets, I never really looked at this cover before. There she meets John Thornton, who is a factory, is an owner of one of the one of the Milton factories where they make cotton. And unfortunately, like in Pride and Prejudice, she sees him in a bad light because she catches him yelling and getting mad at this guy that was caught smoking in the factory, which you can kind of understand why he got pissed off. I mean, the guy was smoking, and that could start a fire if you're not careful. So she thinks of him in a very negative way, and it feels like he has a temper, and he's unfair to his workers, and he's a complete jerk. So it's kind of about their relationship, and like I said, it's like Pride and Prejudice, so I'm sure you can guess what happens. So it's real. I want to continue this. I've seen the miniseries, and after seeing the miniseries, I wanted to read the book, but every time I start it, I get kind of bored. Which I know. I mean, it's an interesting book, and I love the story from the movie, but it's hard reading classics, because especially with the writing style. And then the two modern classics I want to read are George Orwell's 1984, one of the first dystopians ever written. And then East of Eden by John Steinbeck. Now, I've read Steinbeck before. Like, I read Of Mice and Men in, I think, middle school. And then I saw a stage show version of Grapes of Wrath. So I want to give Steinbeck another shot because I feel like that time when I read it, I was just very immature and it just wasn't as exciting as I was hoping it would be. So I want to definitely read more and see if I can get into it more as an adult. And so far, I'm liking this. Yeah, I mean, yes, I started it. So far, it's interesting. Although I can't really sum it up for you guys. But it's kind of like they say that it's a modern retelling of the Adam and Eve and Cain and Abel storyline. Okay, so those are the classics I want to read. Okay, so question number 4. A book you'd like to reread. And that book is... How do I get this? A Court of Mist and Fury by Sarah J. Maas. Like everybody else who's read this book, I just fell in love with this book. And I definitely think it's the best book so far out of the books in this that she's written. In this story, with this storyline. I thought A Court of Thorns and Roses was okay. It was enjoyable. It was entertaining. A Court of Wings, I really liked that one, but it kind of got ruined by the climax of the book. The whole war. Because, of course, with these epic books, there's going to be war. Even if you haven't read it, you can guess there's going to be some kind of war. Like, good versus evil kind of thing. So, I want to reread this one, but I feel like I should read A Court of Thorns and Roses first. And I want to see if I recognize the symptoms, the signs for Tamlin's, the behavior, the realization we finally get in this book about the kind of male he is. Tamlin is, anyway. But I don't know. Part of me is kind of like, I don't want to read it because I didn't like Tamlin anymore. And, it's going to take so long. I mean, I'm almost tempted to see if I can get an audiobook version of it. But I don't know, because my mom would probably respond with, why are you getting the audiobook? Why don't you, if you're going to get the audiobook, you should just get rid of the book. You don't need the audiobook and the book. Sorry, my mom doesn't sound like a Valley girl. But, she's not that. She's not annoying like that. So, I want to read that one. I want to reread that one. Okay, so next question. A book that I've had on my shelf forever. Actually, in the original phrasing in the questions, I think it's actually ages. But out of habit, I typed forever. And that, where is it? I can't find it. Oh, there it is. And that is this one, Lord of the Rings. And I know this is the grandfather of fantasy, so part of me feels like I should read it, but another part of me doesn't want to read it out of principle, because I get totally annoyed. Sophie, what are you doing? Sophie! There's no food in there. Sophie, come here. Sophie, come here. Good girl. Stay out of there. I'm almost done, I promise. So, another part of me doesn't want to read it out of principle because I feel like there's all this pressure because people are like, you have to read this book. You can't call yourself a fantasy fan if you haven't read this book, and how dare you think the movie is better than the book. You know, of course, in my case, I haven't read the book. I mean, I've attempted to read the book, but it's just, I'm sorry, but it is really dense and very detailed. I mean, from what I've heard, he takes a whole page just to describe a stupid tree. And that's just almost too much. I'm sorry, you know, not like, God forbid, not everybody, you know, worships this book and thinks it's brilliant and well done. No, let me rephrase that. It's well done, but it's just, I'm sorry, but it's just really hard to get into. I mean, I know you people will find that shocking, but I'm sorry. It's just, but I do want to read it. I feel like I should at least try to read it again. Because I do feel, unfortunately, I also feel guilty that I haven't read it yet. Because people are constantly talking about how brilliant this is. So, I want to read this one, and I want to read, if I can read this one, then I will attempt to read The Two Towers, and then Return of the King. But I have read The Hobbit, to be fair. Okay, so next question. A big book you like to read. Okay, I picked two. Okay, and that is Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell. I got this at the used bookstore, at the used bookstore for like $2 or $3, which was totally awesome. Actually, what got me to read it, or at least to buy it, was interested in it, is I was watching Gallivant, which is the show that got canceled before it even got a chance to jump and become something brilliant. Although it was already brilliant as it is, I think, in its humor and stuff. Although I have a really bad relationship with ABC. That's the channel it aired on. But anyway, one of the actors from Gallivant, I think, plays in the TV show version of this book. And, of course, this is about magicians, and it's historical fiction, so who wouldn't want to read that? Well, I guess you wouldn't want to read it if you're not interested in either of those, but I am interested in both those particular subjects. And then I also want to read The Fall of Giants by Ken Follett. I don't know how to say his name. I want to read this one, too. This is another one I got at the used bookstore, and I was able to get the first two with this same edition. One of them was at Books A Million, but it was a really cheap price, and then the other one I found at the, I think I also got at the used bookstore, the last one. But the second one I think I got at the, or it might have been the other way around. But I want to read those two. Okay, question number 7. An author you've read previously and want to read more of. And I said Fitzgerald. F. Scott Fitzgerald. I read The Great Gatsby in middle school. I read it again back in 2016, I think. So I saw these at the used bookstore. This is one of 2 of his novellas, or short novels. This Side of Paradise and The Last Tycoon. It's funny, it looks like a library book edition. So I'm wondering if was it from the library? Nope, it's not. It's just a book with a naked cover. I don't know what the cover. I wonder what the cover looks like. I'm kind of curious. And then I saw this at the used bookstore. This is a collection of his short stories, like Bernice Bobs Her Hair, The Pearl, I think. And I think that's, although is that, or maybe that's Steinbeck. I don't know. And then The Curious Case of Benjamin Button, which was made into a movie a few years ago, starring Brad Pitt, which that's one of the few roles of his that I actually really enjoy, that I really thought was done very well. So I want to read more of him, more of Fitzgerald. So that means reading those two. And then I want to read some other ones. Okay, so next, a book you got for Christmas and would like to read. So I only got 2 books this year. I got The Raven King, but I'm already reading The Raven Cycle, so that's a given. So I decided to say the other book I got for Christmas, which is Tales from the Shadowhunter Academy. If you read this is about Simon Lewis from the Mortal Instruments. If you've read the Mortal Instruments all the way through, you know what happens to Simon. So this is the aftermath of that, what happens next with him, where his story goes from there. So I'm gonna read this one. But I also have to read the Bane Chronicles. I have the Bane Chronicles, so I'm gonna probably read that one first. Which is about Magnus, the character of Magnus, who is one of my favorite characters from the original series. No, actually, this is the only Cassandra Clare books I have on my shelf anymore. Because my mom is always constantly, because she's all I'm not going to buy you another bookshelf. She kind of wants me to donate my books, especially since we live near an unused bookstore. So they'll take donated books. So I've been donating the books. And I've had those books for a long time, and it created a big dent on my shelf. You can't tell, but it created a big dent on my shelf to get rid of those. So I did, because there are a lot of other series I want to read and I want to buy. And I mean, I know it's crazy, but I am not like those booktubers have huge shelves. I have to, because I only have this shelf, and then the other shelf I have in this room is it's where all our DVDs are. And then I have a little bit of shelf space over there. So I ended up getting rid of Mortal Instruments and Infernal Devices, but I'm going to continue reading her books. And then one day I will probably get rid of those as well. So as of right now, I only have the Bane Chronicles in this one. So I do want to read this one, but first I gotta read the Bane Chronicles. So I don't know if I will get to this one this year, but I would like to. Okay, question number 9. A series you want to read, start and finish. Okay. This one is the Century Trilogy by Ken Follett, like I said before. I'm actually kind of more interested in this one than his other series, which I don't remember what that one is called. But that one starts with Pillars of the Earth. But one of the reasons why I'm more interested in this one is because it's about the turn of the century. It takes place during the turn of the century. And the other one is kind of more medieval times. So that period doesn't interest me as much as the turn of the century, but I will read those because I do have the first 2 books in that trilogy as well. And I think Column of Fire, the book that he wrote that just came out, I think that's the 3rd book in that series. So I want to read this series. And I want to read the other series I want to read that I have not started is the Hannibal series. I don't know if that's actually what it's called, but it's like Silence of the Lambs, Hannibal Rising, and then this one is Red Dragon, which I think this was the first book that Thomas Harris ever wrote of this series. It's about an FBI agent, Will Graham, and he is trying to track down this killer who sees himself as a dragon. He is in the movie, he had this big dragon tattoo on his back, and he imagines himself transforming into a dragon. And actually in the movie, he's played by Ralph Fiennes, who is an amazing actor. And the movie also stars Edward Norton as Will Graham. And anyway, so Will gets help from this famous psychologist who is also a cannibal, Hannibal Lecter. And in the movies, he's played by Anthony Hopkins. Now, there's also a TV series that I think is based more on this book that just came out, and starring, I think Hugh Dancy plays Will Graham, and then I don't know the name of the actor who plays Hannibal, but it's I think it's closer to the story, or at least about the characters in the story. Maybe not the dragon guy, but Hannibal and Will Graham. And I don't know if they're going to go into the whole Silence of the Lambs with Clarice territory. But I haven't read this series, but my friend Terry, my best friend Terry, has been trying to get me to read this series because she really likes it. And I just haven't got around to it. And no, it's not. And I am interested in it. I like psychology stories, and I remember liking the movies, but I just haven't got around to it. I just wasn't interested. And I remember I did have a copy of Red Dragon before, but I left it somewhere, and then I never found it. So now I have it again. Different cover, of course, but this time I'm not gonna lose it. And the good news is I can't bring a book to work with me anyway. So, and besides the fact that even if I could, I would probably keep it in the locker. Like, if I ever become a full-time employee and I decide to bring a book with me to work so I can read during my lunch hour, then yeah, I would keep it in the locker. So I don't have to worry about losing it anymore. So I'm going to start this. This is another series. I think this is the first book in the series, and I want to start this. Okay, so those are the two series I want to start. Okay, then a series you want to finish that you've already started. And I have two here. Because there are a lot of series that I've started, like, I started, like, Throne of Glass. I still have to continue that, like, I'm on the 4th book in that series. So I could include that one, and also the Shades of Magic. I read the 1st book in that series. So there are quite a few series, and there is actually, I'm rereading the Lunar Chronicles, and I'm reading, and then there's, what's the other series I was just thinking of? I can't remember. Oh, and a Game of Thrones, or Song of Ice and Fire series, and then, there's a lot of series that I've started. So, but I decided, since these are the ones I'm currently reading, Blue Lily Lily Blue, this is the 3rd book in a series, and Rebel Spring, the 2nd book in a series. This is from the Raven Cycle, and this is from Fallen Kingdoms. This is, like I said, this the 2nd book. It's kind of it's like they say that it's like the YA version of A Song of Ice and Fire series, and it kind of is. I mean, it has the multiple characters, and there's the kingdom, and they're all fighting, and there's the mysterious magic that people think has been dead for a long time, but it's not, and, there's political intrigue, there's this actual romance, there's magic, of course, there's a war going on, there's a lot. It's good so far. Contrary to popular belief, I actually did like the 1st book, Fallen Kingdoms. I know a lot of people didn't like it, or they just thought it was okay. But I really enjoyed it, and I'm liking the 2nd book. And then, like I said, this is the 3rd book in the Raven Cycle. This one I can sum up better. Okay, so I can't tell you what the 3rd book is about because, it will spoil. If you haven't read the 1st book, The Raven Boys, then it would spoil things for you. But, so I will just tell you what the 1st book is about, okay? This girl, Blue, she comes from a family of psychics. She's not psychic herself, but she has the ability to amplify other people's powers. And she meets these boys called the Raven Boys, who work at a group of 4 boys that go to this preparatory school. And she's always been told to stay away from them, along with the fact that if she kisses her true love, she'll kill him. So it has a little bit of romance. But then she discovers one of them, their journal, where they talk about they are looking for this Raven King. This Welsh king. I can't remember his name. And that the legend is that he is sleeping, and that if you wake him up, he will grant you a wish. And Blue decides to join them in their quest to find this king, this long lost Welsh king. It takes place in Virginia, which I did not realize until a few years ago that Virginia is technically a southern state. I did not know that. I mean, with the way they are in Virginia, I didn't think it would be southern, but I guess it is. So, like I said, this is the third book, and then I got the fourth book for Christmas, The Raven King. And, like, I decided to start this one this year because I didn't want to start it until I had the final book. And I got the final book from my sister for Christmas. So those are the two series I want to continue and finish. Okay, so, let's see. Next question. Okay, finally on the last two questions. Question number 11. Do you set reading goals? Yes, I do. If so, how many books do you want to read in 2018? Okay, so I started this back in 2016. Well, I started this in 2006. Well, I started this back in 2016, and I continued it in 2017. But 2016, it was towards the end of the year. I was staying with my grandma at the time because we were going through transitioning into our new house. So it was like around November, and I set my goal really low to just 5 books for the year. And I also did not have all my books yet. And we hadn't gotten here yet. All my books were away in storage, so I just set my goal for 5 books. And then, back in last year, in 2017, I set my goal for 90 books, which I did meet. Although I had to change my goal to 89 books, because for some reason, I don't know if it was me making a mistake and not officially typing in my last book, or maybe it took off my last book that I supposedly read. It didn't look like it did. The 90th book, so I kind of cheated and tricked Goodreads and changed it to 89 books, because it was it was a week before the end of the year, so I could still get away with changing the goal. So either way, I met that goal. But this year I decided to lower it to 25 books. Okay, so question number 12. Any other reading goals? So all my reading goals are basically read more of other genres. So I would like to read more classics, and that includes modern classics. So hence the books. I was able to answer that other question. Question number 3. And then I also want to read more novellas and short stories. Like this year, I read The Hauntings of Williamsburg, Jamestown, Yorktown, which is actually, no, that's like nonfiction, never mind. Although that is included in here. So actually, I read Stars Above this year. And I don't know if I've read any other novellas or short stories this year. Short stories collection. I did try to read the books that my sister bought me, Kelly Link. She writes magical realism, and I have 2 of her books, Get in Trouble and Stranger Things Happen. I read but I never continued those. I do want to read them, and I did start the 3rd story, I think, in Get in Trouble, but her novellas or short stories are kind of long, so it's taken me a while. But the other one I want to read is more nonfiction. Like, I've read, Freak, Skeet, and Asperger's Syndrome, A Guide to Adolescence, and that's basically this kid that was 13 at the time writing about his experience with having Asperger's, and how you can help other people to coping with it. And then I read a memoir, The Paris Letters. I did not realize that was nonfiction, but that is a memoir, so I guess it technically is nonfiction. And then years ago, I read, and like I said, I read The Hauntings of Williamsburg, Jamestown, and Yorktown, which is basically about, since a lot of people have died in Virginia, so it's a collection of the ghost stories in Virginia. So it's not trying to convert you to believe in ghosts, but it was really fun to learn about all the ghosts that died, all the people that died there, and how them haunting different parts of Virginia. And then And then a couple years ago, I remember I read Chaplin, which is his autobiography. Charlie Chaplin, the guy, the famous comedian, actor, director. I read his, and then years ago, and then around that same time, I got into Amelia Earhart, but I have not continued her biography. So I need to continue that one. I might have to start from the beginning with that one, or just reread it from the beginning. But then, I also bought these two books. This one is about Anastasia, the Russian princess. This was a book that I got at the used bookstore for really cheap. It was like $4 or $5. And if you buy nonfiction at, especially biographies, at like Books a Million are like $20 or more. So that was a really good deal. And then I also got a novel of Zelda Fitzgerald. I am really interested in the 1920s, and like I said before, I want to read more of Fitzgerald's work. So I decided to get the book about his wife's life, and how she met her husband and everything. And then there's one of my favorite booktubers that I watch, Olive Books, or I can't remember what her name, but her booktube name. But she was talking. I remember a couple like back in December or maybe November, she had read 2 books about like the Jazz Age that I want to read, because I really love the Roaring '20s. It's one of my favorite historical decades that I like learning about. So I'm going to definitely read more of that. But also, now these particular books I do not have, but I am a huge fan and obsessed with Sound and Music. There's actually a video where I gush about how much I love Sound and Music, and I went through a period recently where and this I've done multiple times before, where I will watch the movie continuously several times, and I'm thinking about watching it tonight, because actually I'm off today. I was off today, and I'm off tomorrow. That I'm only part-time, so I don't work as much. Although my mom has, talked to me has suggested I talk to one of the managers and volunteer myself, which I know I should do that, but I kind of like the hours I have. I'm also thinking, well, maybe this is just how they are with part-time employees, and maybe if I work hard enough during the days I am working, I'll get full-time. Which I understand why my mom is encouraging me to offer my services more, because I'll get paid, I'll get paid more if I'm there more, if I volunteer myself more often. But, so, because of that, I have the 2 lead actors in that movie, the movie version of the musical, are Christopher Plummer and Julie Andrews. And they both have written memoirs. I want to know what the difference between a memoir and an autobiography. If there's any difference between those two. I don't know. But, Julie Andrews, she goes by, her author name is Julie Edwards Andrews. She's married to the famous director Blake Edwards. So her married name, she uses her married name in her author name, as part of her author name. And her memoir is called Home, a memoir of my early years. So I want to read that one, and I actually sent the Amazon link to it, because it's a lot cheaper. It's like $5.05 on Amazon. So and at Books a Million, it's like $23 or something. So I was like, okay, if it's almost like $5 on Amazon, and because my mom has Amazon Prime, the shipping is free. I want to jump on that. And then Christopher Plummer's memoir is called In Spite of Myself, which I did not look up because I already sent my mom the link to Julie Andrews' memoir and the biography on Walt Disney, A Triumph in the American Imagination. That one, which is like almost $20, which was the same, pretty close to the same price it was at Books A Million anyway, so it doesn't matter. But the shipping is free because it's a Prime product, Amazon Prime product. So I was all like, so I ended up, I sent her the link to that one. So since I did that, I figured, I'll worry about getting in spite of myself another time, maybe for my birthday or something. Like, maybe I could get nonfiction for my birthday and then some fiction. So basically I want to read that. I want to read more nonfiction. I want to read more classics. And I want to read more novellas and short stories. So, what are your guys' goals for this year, book-wise? What do you want to, how many, if you are doing the Goodreads challenge, how many books are you planning to read, or are you going to be one of those people that's only going to put on there one book, so it won't matter how many books you read as long as you read one book? And what are some books that you didn't get to last year that you want to get to this year? So I will talk. I hope you guys enjoyed my video on my on my New Year's resolution book tag. If you want to do this tag, go for it. I don't like tagging people because I feel like since I'm still new, I don't know who watches my videos. I don't know if whoever watches them is interested in my videos and doing these I know they're obviously interested. Let me rephrase that. I don't know if whoever watches my videos is interested in doing a tag, but if you are, feel free to do it. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you're just passing through and have not done this, please subscribe to my account if you liked what I did. And I will talk to you guys later. Alright, bye!